Hi, welcome to the Quiet Zone. I'm your host, Susan Patang. We're going to talk today about something that is near and dear to my heart, and it is called perfectionism, also known as vacuuming the pattern off the rug. So, I'm going to tell you the story of two people and their perfectionism and what it got them and how you can avoid it yourself. Meet Bob. Bob has some time for housework before his wife gets home. So he decides to vacuum. She always seems to get stuck with the housework, so he thinks this would be a fantastic idea. Good for you, Bob. Meet Desiree. Desiree has an important work project to do. She wants it to be absolutely perfect. The last thing she needs is for her boss to be annoyed, especially with what's going on right now in people's jobs. Am I going to have my job next month? So she wants this to be absolutely perfect. But she decides that she doesn't really have enough information to complete the project. So she gets sucked into some more research. And it turns out that there was more to be done than she thought was going to be necessary. And she said, wow, this is going to take longer than I thought. Bob decides the most efficient way to complete the vacuuming is to start at the bedroom and work his way forward into the living room. Okay, that sounds pretty good, Bob. But he decides first he's going to have a cup of coffee. I'm going to need this to do all this work, he thinks. Well, you know what? I probably would too. A coworker knocks on Desiree's door to see if she wants some tea. Startled, she glances at the clock and says, "Oh my God, it's 3:30. Crap. I have to have this written and on the boss's desk before I leave today. Now what?" So she freaks out, rushes to get the report done, does a boatload of edits because it's never exactly what she wants it to be. She couldn't get it quite right. And she ended up dropping it on her boss's desk at 5. It wasn't as good as she wanted it to be. But it's 5 o'clock. I got to go. She's drained. She heads home and she carries with her the stress of the day back home. Bob finally begins vacuuming an hour after he starts. He got distracted by a story on the news and his cup of coffee. So he says, okay, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to start. So he starts in the bedroom. He goes over every single nook and cranny. Okay, every inch of it, every corner, every crack, every gap in the tile. And slowly he makes his way up the hall towards the living room. And he's starting to get tired because of all this effort, and his back is starting to hurt. So he finally gets to the living room rug and he sees what look like little foozles all over it. So he goes over and over and over the same spot and he says, damn it, why isn't this coming up? He realizes he's been trying to vacuum the pattern off the rug. So even though the rug's super clean, he's still not happy with the result. And I have to tell you, I did that yesterday. And I was trying to vacuum the pattern off the rug, just like Bob. So these two stories show how perfectionism can rear its ugly head into our day-to-day activities. So many times the tendency towards perfectionism can come from a fear of failure, all or nothing thinking. It has to be perfect or it's not worth doing at all, right? How many times do we hear that growing up? Often we develop perfectionism due to low self-esteem. We feel like if we do something, we have to do everything perfectly in order to be good human beings. Or we procrastinate like Bob does because of the thought the effort needed to do a job was overwhelming. Okay. It was just like, oh my God, this is going to take a lot of work and a lot of effort. So the thought of doing it is just overwhelming. I'm going to stop and have some coffee and look at the news. And the next thing you know, now he's backed up by an hour. Ironically, the harder we try to be perfect, the less perfect we are. Desiree's desire to do more and more research to make her report absolutely perfect cost her so much time that she became inefficient, ended up doing a rush job to have it done in time, and then wasn't happy with the result anyway. So here's how to stop being a perfectionist and relax. Okay. Ask yourself, how perfect does this really have to be? Every task we do has different standards, right? So if you're a brain surgeon, your standard performance is going to be a hell of a lot bigger and higher than if you are a vice president of operations, okay? Keep an eye out for the reality of things. Not everything has to be perfect. As a matter of fact, most things don't, okay? Save the perfectionism for the things that really, really need it. Not everything is brain surgery, okay? Number two, Create time limits. Set limits on the time that you take doing a task. So if Desiree had said, you know what, I'm going to do another half an hour's worth of research before I start writing and set a timer, she wouldn't have wasted all that time and wouldn't have been late with the report. So use a timer, okay? Don't get sucked into just a little bit more vortex, okay? Number 3, why does it need to be perfect? Okay. And what would happen if it's not? All right. So, what are the chances of your worst case scenario happening? So, chances are that your worst case scenario is there's a 2% chance of that happening, and that good enough is just good enough. Okay. Was perfection expected of you when you were a kid? Because a lot of times we're taught from childhood that you would be a bad worker, a bad parent, a bad spouse, a bad friend, a bad student, whatever, if you didn't do things with absolute perfection. If you're not going to do it right, don't do it at all, right? We've heard this so many times. But are you afraid that others are going to disapprove of or not like you if you're not perfect? Okay. Think about the reality of that. Think about it logically. Okay. If people don't like you because you're not perfect, okay, screw them. You don't need them as friends, right? Monitor your self-talk. All right. And this goes along with that. What are you saying to yourself when this tendency to be perfect arises? So, what are you saying to yourself about your own performance? Bob was trying so hard to do a perfect vacuuming job that he tried to vacuum the pattern off the rug, and yet he still wasn't satisfied. His inner talk was saying, it has to be perfect. It's not good enough. It has to be perfect. It's not good enough. Okay. And he ended up trying to vacuum the pattern off the rug. So change that kind of self-talk into things like, the rug looks really great. I did a fantastic job. Or this is good enough. I saved, what was the goal? His goal was to save the job from his wife having to do it. I saved my wife the trouble of having to do all this vacuuming. Good for me. Round of applause, pat on the back. Okay. Change your self-talk. And then we mentioned just a second ago about when is enough enough? When is it good enough? Okay. So experiment with those feelings. Find some tasks that really aren't that important. Things like the rug, okay, vacuuming, washing the dishes, okay. Instead of doing it perfectly, just say, you know what, I'm going to do it okay. All right. So set your standard at a lower percentage. So let's say if you're shooting for 120% perfection, shoot for 80% or less than 100. Okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be good enough. Keep in mind, what is it you're trying to accomplish? And what is, like we were saying before, the standard of perfection that needs to happen for this particular job, okay? And then ask yourself, how do I want to feel at the end of the day? What do you think it's going to feel like to be able to do fun things and get unchained from your desk and not spend 2 hours vacuuming the rug to the point where you're trying to pull the carpet pattern off, right? Think about what that would feel like, to have some time not only to do all these tasks, but to have some fun at the end of the day. Another problem that we experience with perfectionism is that we tend to bring home our work stress, just like Desiree did. So have you ever had work brain ruin your entire weekend? Okay. Maybe you come home and concerns from your day follow you like a stalker, or you wake up and you're brain dead for hours because you're distracted about the bent widgets report that's at work that you don't even, it's not even affecting you right now. You're at home. So it's time for you to take my dump the junk, how to leave work stress at work power session, and understand why you're grouchy and irritable when you get home. You'll learn what happens when you get stuck in work mode, why it's important to get the inner hamster out of the wheel, and best of all, how to get out. Okay. So here's how it works. You're going to watch an instructional video and work with a cheat sheet that gives you techniques for positive, long-lasting change. This is not a Band-Aid on the gunshot wound, folks. This is, we want to change this and change the way you view your life. Hop on a 45-minute Zoom session with me. And after your session, you'll be able to enjoy your time off again. You'll be more fun to be around and focus on what's important to you when it's your time. Okay. All of this in under an hour, all for $97. You can't beat that. Okay. This is also a really good way to get a taste of what life coaching is like. You don't have to invest hours and hours or thousands of dollars, and none of my programs are that expensive anyway. But you can get a taste without feeling like you're making a big commitment, and see if it's something that might be good for you. I've got some pretty killer programs on my website for learning how to wake up happy. There's something for everyone there. There's free blog posts and videos. There are the individual sessions that you can buy that don't have the actual coaching session, but you can buy the materials and work by yourself for only $39. And then there are a couple of things like my power session here. There are 3 different power sessions where it's a one-off, and you get one session, and you get the cheat sheets and the videos, as well as a session for only $97. So what are you waiting for? www.thequietzonecoaching.com. Go visit. Can't wait to see you there. Thanks for coming by. I hope this was good for you, and it was interesting and it helped you. So I will talk to you guys soon. Have a wonderful, awesome, amazing day.